Hey everyone, Perry here. Welcome back to the cassette phase. It's been a little while since I talked to you guys, so I wanted to give kind of an update and also talk about do a little nostalgia talk. You know, I like to do that on these walks. Probably not the kind of video that grows the channel a whole lot, but I'm not really worried about that. I kind of want to just, like I said, it's been a few days, so I want to put something out there and check in with you guys. So I think some of you probably saw my community post, and I got some really nice comments on that. So I thank you guys for that. I appreciate it. I really do. It's probably gonna be windy today, so apologizing in advance. Yeah, no major health issues here, just enough to kind of set me back a little bit for a few minutes, for a few days, maybe a couple of weeks. I had a really strange situation where I had I noticed like a blind spot in my vision in my right eye. You know, not like I could still see, but it was, you know, definitely a little bit of a blind spot. It was like a blurry section in the lower left part of my field of vision. So, as I usually do with health concerns, I give it a couple days to see if it corrects itself. And then I started consulting Dr. Google, which is never the right thing to do. Definitely don't recommend getting on Google and trying to figure out what's wrong with you. Because then he just ends up alarming you, and you know. So anyway, went to my eye doctor, told him what happened. Turns out I had what's called a branch retinal vein occlusion, which sounds scarier than it is, but I was actually relieved to hear that, because that ruled out a lot of the really scary stuff that it could have been. So totally treatable. The treatment is not fun. It involves injections, a series of at least 6 injections over the next 6 months. But the specialist says that he has seen much worse. This is a pretty basic case, really treatable. And I should get my full vision back, if not full, most of the way there. So I can still see. I've got good clear vision in my left eye. I don't know if any of you guys wear contacts, but it's kind of like if you were to wear one contact in one eye and no contact in the other. That's kind of how I would describe it, but not quite that severe. I can still see well enough to work. I can still see well enough to drive, all that kind of stuff. So very fortunate, minor setback. We will get through it. But in the meantime, like I said, I'm having these injections done, and it makes my eyes kind of, you know, pretty red, a little swollen. And that's only supposed to last like a week to 10 days, but while it looks like that, I'm not comfortable going in front of the camera, as I'm sure you guys can understand. So will be a faceless YouTube channel for those periods of time. But like I said, they're temporary, and we'll be back to regularly scheduled programming in no time. But as you can see, it's a beautiful day. Like, I mean, my goodness, it's the beginning of February, and it's 78 degrees outside and sunny. So I had to get out and do a little walking. Just have to on days like this, when you get, you know, middle of winter and you get days like these, you just got to get outside. Other news before we get into today's topic, let's see. And that's kind of what these walks are going to be. Like I said, these aren't going to be always the most specific topic. You know, I might come out here some days and be like, okay, let's go through my top 10 favorite whatever. I don't know, we might do that, but those types of videos are usually better for the den, because I can actually sit down and show you some stuff, you know, related to what I'm talking about. Out here, it may just be more stream of consciousness type, you know, off the cuff. Let's just talk about whatever I feel like talking about today. And so hopefully that's okay. We'll we'll see. But yeah, news. So for those of you all that know, I live in the North Texas region. And I'm a big sports fan, big basketball fan. You probably noticed some of the hats that I wear on the channel. They're usually retro inspired NBA or baseball hats. I like to wear those. Sorry, I gotta throw a rock in. I don't know why. I always like to when I walk past here. Why is that so satisfying? That's been satisfying since I was a kid. Just throwing a rock into a lake or a pond. I don't know why. Yeah, sports news. The best player the Dallas Mavericks have had in a decade, Luka Doncic himself from Slovenia, got traded to the Lakers. I know a lot of you may not be sports fans, so feel free to fast forward a couple of clicks, but that was big news around here. You know, if you're not a fan of the Dallas teams, you probably don't care for Luka Doncic. You probably think, you know, he's a whiner and a crybaby, but the fact of the matter is, while I don't disagree with those things, look at all the turtles there. Sometimes they'll jump in when I walk by, but they're being pretty brave today, being pretty chill. But yeah, the fact of the matter is if you just talk about basketball skills, he's the best player the Mavericks have had since Dirk Nowitzki. And now he's a Los Angeles Laker? Wow. That's kind of that kind of took this area by major surprise. In fact, I think it took the whole sports world by surprise. I mean, it made national news. It was all over the headlines. I mean, I think it got joked about at the Grammys. Just crazy. Don't get me wrong, I think Anthony Davis is a good player. I think he's going to be a good fit alongside Kyrie Irving, and the Mavericks may be okay, but it's weird. You don't usually see teams trade a superstar, you know, talent without them being asked to be traded, especially when they're 25 years old and not even in their prime yet. Anyway, rant over. Hopefully I didn't lose too many viewers who don't care about sports. I know I talked about nostalgia a little bit last time I was out here on this walk with you guys, and that's kind of what I want to talk about again, but from a different angle. I was thinking about this earlier today. If you're a viewer of this channel and New 80s Revolution and 80s Movie Den and Colin from Canada and all the usual suspects in our little community here that we've got, that's amazing. You probably like, quote unquote, like the feeling of nostalgia. Nostalgia, however you want to pronounce it. I think that kind of varies by region. But there are people, and I've talked to some recently, who do not. They don't like that feeling. It's more sad than it is sweet. You know, they say it's bittersweet, which is a great way to describe it. For some people, it's more bitter. For us, for me personally, it's more sweet. And I don't think that necessarily means that somebody had a better childhood or a worse childhood. Hold that thought while I pause for a moment here. Yeah, I don't know that that's the case. And I'm going to do an actual case study on nostalgia when I talk about nostalgia and mental health here in a few months. But I think I had a pretty good childhood. I mean, by 80s standards, it had its share of not so pleasant moments, as a lot of us did back then. I'm not going to say trauma or anything like that, but there were some life-changing moments pretty early in life, you know, but when I look back at it, I feel like I have a pretty positive, I think I had overall a pretty positive childhood. I think it was good. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why I like the feeling of nostalgia. But I don't think that's the only reason. We've talked about before, I think it's kind of like a longing for a simpler time when we had less choices, less decisions to make. Obviously, we had fewer obligations and responsibilities, and that's, who doesn't miss those times? I know there are people that don't. And I think, me personally, I get lost in the fact that I feel like the YouTube and the social media community that revolves around 80s and 90s nostalgia, I think it's pretty vast. I think it's big, but in the grand scheme of things, I don't think that it is. Apologize for the wind. It's a little breezy today. Last time the audio was okay though, so hopefully it's okay this time too. But if you think about it, if you ask yourself, do you like the feeling of nostalgia? When something hits you, a smell, a sound, a sight, a taste, whatever it is, do you think back, oh wow, that was awesome, that made me happy, or does it make you sad? Is it a little bit of both? Does it depend on the situation? Let's go out to the dock. Hey guys. The wind is blowing this way, but I shouldn't get too much mist on me today. We'll see. But like I said, for those of us who watch channels like mine, I think it's probably a safe assumption to say that for the most part, we enjoy revisiting the simpler time. We enjoy the nostalgic feelings that come from looking back at memories from our childhoods. It's fun for us. We enjoy the pop culture from that era. I may have to keep moving because we're in a pretty windy spot here, although this is my favorite spot, so hopefully the wind calms down a little bit. I may have to look into getting a microphone one day and quit being so amateur hour with my channel. But so with the understanding that we like the feeling of nostalgia and we seek it out, do you think that that is an endless, infinite resource? Will there always be things that you can reflect back on, or things that you can look at, or things that you can listen to or watch that will bring you those feelings? Or does it wear off? Do those feelings not always hit so hard the more you revisit them? This is something that I encounter a lot. Like, for example, when I was in college, living in the dorms, my roommate was like, hey, do you remember this certain theme song? And he pulled up on a very, what seems like now, simple and basic, and in the early stages of the internet, because this would have been the year 99 or 2000. Let me pull up this file sharing site. I don't remember what it was. If it was Napster or LimeWire or whatever it was. Like, hey, somebody uploaded a playlist of 80s cartoon theme songs. Do you remember any of these? And that was the first time that I was like, whoa. It was the first time I had revisited those sounds and the associated images that came along with them since I had been a kid. You go through middle school and junior high and high school and into college. You're not thinking, oh, I'm already nostalgic for childhood in most cases. But that kind of planted the seed for me, I think. And I remember thinking, wow, what a cool feeling. I hadn't heard the Gummy Bears theme song or the Shirt Tails theme song since I was 5 years old. That was cool. That opened up a chapter in my mind that I hadn't accessed. And so from then on, I kind of thought, okay, I'm gonna seek those types of moments out. I enjoyed that type of moment. I'm gonna seek out similar ways that bring that same feeling. And so that's kind of what I've been doing ever since. Now, it didn't start immediately. It kind of snowballed over time. It became more of a hobby, as you guys know. And, you know, beyond just a hobby, something that I'm passionate about, and that a lot of us are passionate about. But as time goes on, are those moments harder and harder to cultivate, to access? Now, when I hear the DuckTales theme song, it doesn't spark that feeling because I've heard it, you know, I've probably heard that song more in adulthood than I did as a child at this point because I've revisited it so many times. I've had DuckTales playing in the background in my office while I'm working, or I'll turn on an episode and watch it with my kids, you know. It's not a bad thing. It just means that the sparked feeling of nostalgia has kind of expired for that particular theme song. And it's happened with countless others. I remember the first time I saw an episode of Saved by the Bell after I hadn't watched it in 20 years. Super nostalgic on that one. The theme song, the music that plays it coming in and out of each episode, the sights, you know, the fashion that they were all wearing. Great stuff. And on a show like that with so many episodes, I can still, you know, create some nostalgia from watching that. But let me stop rambling and let me get off the dock here and keep walking. See if I can get to somewhat of a point here. Although these videos may be kind of pointless in a way. They may just be ramblings. And I'm about to have to pause anyway, because I don't want to be talking about memories of Saved by the Bell and DuckTales as I walk past this person up here. So I'll be right back. Okay, sorry, I had to pause for the whole duration of that ridge there because the wind was just whipping around. I know that would have been horrible for the audio. But anyway, what I was saying was, do your nostalgic feelings and emotions expire for certain things? And when they do, what happens to those things? You know, I was just thinking like, okay, so DuckTales no longer feels nostalgic for me. Well, what about Rescue Rangers? What about Tailspin? What about Darkwing Duck? There's kind of an endless stream of things that you can access from those compartments of your brain. And even if it does wear off, does that mean I'm never going to watch it again? No. Does it take on a different kind of nostalgic vibe? You know, does it kind of move from that feeling of, oh, wow, I forgot about that? Or our good friend over at, oh, I had that. Which, by the way, if you haven't checked out his channel and his Instagram, oh, I had that. Great place for those types of memories. Very similar collector to myself. Good guy. But yeah, once it's no longer, oh, wow, I forgot about that. Is it still like, okay, well, I remember it fondly and it's kind of comforting. Something that I want to revisit from time to time type of situation. And I don't know. Like I said, I'm just rambling about what's been on my mind today. See what you guys thought. Here's another interesting point. Have you ever had nostalgia like fold back on itself? Let me explain what I mean. Like when I felt like I had expired any type of music, song, album, record, audio cassette, whatever, that was going to bring me any kind of nostalgia, you know, other than the old favorites that you've heard 100 times that still give you that feeling. There are those situations. That's when I kind of discovered synthwave. And synthwave, as I've talked about on the channel before, is new music, but it feels like it's from the 80s. Like it's just from that time period. Well, it's been close to a decade now since I discovered synthwave music, and all those great feelings that it gave me. And so now I'll hear a song from 2015 or 2016 from that genre, and it takes me back to when my daughter was really little, you know, or before my son was even born. And so now that nostalgia that I was chasing came back around, and now I hear those songs and I'm like, it takes me back to those years. So it's kind of cool. And I tend to enjoy most of it. Very rarely is there a time where I'm like, that makes me sad, I probably won't go back to that one. Because like I've talked about before, you know, revisiting these moments and having these feelings is great if you do it in a healthy way. You know, we're living in the here and now and enjoying the present and being thankful for all the moments that we're given, especially with, you know, if you're like me and you've got kids that are growing at what seems like the speed of light. But yeah, I kind of went off on a tangent there. My main point was, what do you do when it becomes harder and harder to find that feeling, to chase that feeling and capture it? Music has been a huge one for me. The synthwave stuff, the new retro wave things, those have opened up an entire new chapter for me, honestly. And then just because I had a certain Motley Crue tape or a certain Poison tape as a kid that I wore out, it doesn't mean that I listened to those other albums all the time back then. So I'll go back and listen to music from that era that I'm not as familiar with. And even though I don't know the songs as well, it still takes you back. Same thing happens with TV shows and movies. You know, I didn't see every 80s movie back then, but I sure have had a great time as an adult going back and trying to watch as many as I possibly can. Stories I've never heard, movies I've never seen, but they take place in that specific place and time, and therefore takes you back and gives you those feelings. Yeah, I decided before I even started the YouTube channel that I was just going to be okay with this stuff. You know, who am I trying to impress at this point? Well into my mid-40s. Like I've said before, you like what you like. You have the interests that you do for a reason. And I still have fun to this day trying to capture new ways to grab those feelings, you know? I think it's fun. It's kind of like a fun little challenge at this point. You know, if you go away from something for long enough too, and then you come back to it, that can do wonders. I've done a lot of that over the years. And you guys are going to notice it too, these various phases that I go through. When I finally eventually get around to giving you all an update of the den, which is still kind of in transition at the moment. I'm done with all the painting. The stuff is on the walls. Now I'm in the process of rearranging some shelves and changing up a little bit about the VHS closet, adding some stuff to that, removing some stuff from that. Once that's all done, I'll give you guys a nice, good, in-depth tour. But you'll see that the phase that I'm on currently is that I don't necessarily need the toys staring me in the face in order to have the feelings that I'm going for. Do I need access to them? Do I need to be able to pull them out occasionally? Yes, absolutely. But do I need them taking up every single shelf to the point where I have to move 5 things every time I want to get a book or a certain movie out? Yeah, right now the feel of the den, the feel of the Brady Bunch house, the feel of the Growing Pains house, all those types of things is really what I'm going for. And you'll see, but I'm not letting go of those other items. They're just being kind of rearranged. So anyway, lunch break is approaching its end, so I'm going to start heading back here in a minute. But I hope this wasn't too much of just a ramble session. I think a lot of you could probably relate to how we process nostalgia. What does it mean? Do we like it? Do we not? If we do like it, how do we keep getting it? You know, how do we keep finding that feeling if we want to? It's an interesting subject. And for those of you who do enjoy it, which I fully understand and admit is probably not to the level of someone like myself, but you enjoy the occasional, oh wow, I forgot about that, or oh, I hadn't thought about the Wuzzles or the Get Along Gang in 30 years. I hope that I can continue to bring you those types of moments. And in doing so, keep us, kids at heart. Keep us young at heart as long as possible. We handle our responsibilities. We take care of our priorities. We take care of our families and our jobs and everything important, of course. But that doesn't mean that we can't have fun doing this kind of stuff too, So I'm going to keep on keeping on. Whether it's a nonsensical walk around the neighborhood where I just talk like this, or if it's a very, very specific retrospective on a certain type of soda from 1989, or a top 10 favorite, live action sports comedies from the 90s. All that kind of stuff is still coming and is not going anywhere. Just going to mix this stuff in as well. Super nice day out. I'm glad I was able to get out here on my lunch break today. As a kid, I totally would have bombed this right here on my bike. And you guys have given me some really good tips. I'm gonna talk about it in more detail when I finally do a tour of the Den 2.0. But this is what I've gotten so far out of YouTube, is you guys share so many awesome tips and suggestions and thoughts, and it's that sense of community where you're not the only one out there that still likes this stuff, So at 374 subscribers at the time of this recording, I appreciate each and every one of you. I think I've tried to reply to every comment so far. I've tried. That may not continue forever, of course, but as of right now anyway, I have tried to at least respond to just about every comment. And if I've missed any of yours, I apologize. Just feel free to let me know. But YouTube's not always the most accurate about showing you which ones you haven't replied to yet. Still learning the platform, Some of these are really good for skipping too. I'm not going to do that today, but always be mindful of the ducks. What is it that's satisfying about that? I swear, my whole life. So let's get off the deep talk for the last few minutes here. How's everything going with you guys? Drop me a comment and let me know how everything's going. Anybody dealing with anything? Anybody celebrating anything? I always like to hear about that stuff. I feel like I'm still too new to the YouTube thing to do this. We're not even a year in yet. Although we will be coming up on a year here in about 2 or 3 months. But I feel like I'm too new to be the person that posts a little poll that says, what would you like to see more of on my channel? Hey guys. I promise all I did was walk up and they got scared. Yeah, some of you have mentioned that you like the vlog type stuff. I am going to start doing some half price books trips where I bring you all along. So I've got that kind of like vlog thing coming. But do you all like the show and tell type stuff? Do you like the retrospectives where we talk about a certain topic? Just anything and everything 80s? I'm always happy to take suggestions. No one tells you when you start this that it's going to be trickier than you think to continue to have ideas. And I know you have new people coming and going all the time, so you can talk about things again, of course, and we will. It's been probably 6 months since I did any kind of soda can show and tells. Those were some of the earliest videos on the channel and some of the ones that brought some of you guys on board. So, something super nostalgic about old soda cans from the 80s and 90s. Got some more mixtapes coming in the works. Matter of fact, I'm probably going to do one, since Valentine's Day is right around the corner. I'm going to do a cassette phase mixtape of power ballads. So if you like 80s power ballads, be on the watch for that one. Of course, there'll be some of the heavy hitters that we all know and love, but I'm going to find some obscure ones too that you might not know as well. That's what I usually like to do on those. I love that basketball hoops are a big deal in my neighborhood. We have one in our backyard at the childhood house that was, buried in cement where it was never going to come out. And we have a few of those around the neighborhood, like theirs over there is, more permanent. Whereas you got one here that's, the usual. Just put some heavy bags of rocks on the base. My son and I have been playing the heck out of some Nerf basketball. We got him a Nerf basketball set for his room for Christmas. And since we got in that thing, we've been in there at least once every single day, playing pig and playing horse and playing one-on-one. The kid got a new iPad. He got all kinds of nice new, kind of more expensive stuff, Switch games, things like that. And I think his favorite Christmas present from the whole haul was that Nerf hoop. And that makes me happy, honestly. I think that's just awesome. All right, well, I've got a couple meetings to get back to, a couple of calls this afternoon. I'm gonna make myself my afternoon cup of coffee and put this video in the can, so to speak. So, good talking with you all. I look forward to the comments and another video coming soon, I'm sure. Don't forget to relax, enjoy life, be kind. We'll see you in the next one.